All right, now that we've got our feet wet with ggplot, I'm gonna show some things that I think are pretty cool, and just again, we'll emphasize how powerful ggplot really is. So I'm gonna take this graph that I made here, which is the life expectancy by year with this smoothed trend line there. And we're going to play with that a little bit. So the first thing I want to do is, well, this isn't exactly a line, it's a curve. I want it to give me a line. So the first thing I'm going to do is in geom smooth, I'm going to type method equals quote LM. I said LM stands for linear model. I want you to give me a straight line because it looks pretty close to a straight line. Okay, so now I have a straight line and I want to get rid of this confidence band around it. We'll talk about what that means in the class, but I just want the line itself. So I'm going to say SE, which stands for standard error, which is the margin of error equals false. So that's going to get rid of that. Okay, this is looking a little better. I want the theme to be black and white, to be a little cleaner. Okay, oh, this is looking nice. Let's get some labels on here. Plus labs, title equals life expectancy 1952 to through 2007. Subtitle, we can say equals source colon gap minder. X equals year. Y equals life expectancy. So let's run this. Okay, now it's starting to look pretty good. But let's say I wanted to see what this looked like by continent, right? Because maybe these trends are different across our 6 continents. This is one of my favorite ggplot things. It's called faceting, right? We're going to basically break this out into 6 separate graphs, one for each continent, and watch how easy this is. Plus facet, wrap, squiggly line, tilde is what that's called, continent. So now all I'm saying is take this exact thing and break it down for me by continent. And now I can see, whoa, this is pretty cool. I can see our 5 different continents here, and we can see a few things. Well, there's a lot less variability in the Pacific, Australia and New Zealand, because it's only 2 countries. So there's not that very much distribution of points around the line, whereas in Africa, there's a lot of variability. We can also see the slopes are pretty similar. It looks like Asia started one of the lowest and went really high. Africa has a similar slope. Europe, probably because it developed earlier economically, started in the 1950s with a life expectancy in the 60s, but is now approaching 80. So it's all positive, but those slopes are a little bit different. Now let's see, what if I wanted to take into account the populations, because Singapore, while it has a high life expectancy, has only 5 million people, or compared to Russia, which has 150 million people. And I wanted some way to emphasize the fact that these countries have different populations. Well, I have population in my data set, and what I can do is I say, well, if only I could have each point coded by the size of the population. I can go back up to the aesthetic and add something else. I'm going to add comma, size equals population, and I'm going to rerun this. Let's see what happens. Did it go? Don't know. Oh, it's just pop. I just put it in wrong. Sorry. Pop. Let's run that. Okay. Now we're seeing the size of these points being relative to the population of the country. So we can see these big countries in Asia, maybe China, for example, are represented by these big circles, and the small countries are represented by the little dots. Let's say I wanted a line for each country. I'm going to remove the overall line, and I just want, actually I'm going to remove the overall points, and I want a line for each country. So instead of points, I want a line so I can see how the countries connect. Okay, now this looks kind of bad. So what's happened? It's basically drawing them up and down each row, and it's not connecting them the way we want to, because we have to tell ggplot that to connect by country. So I have to tell, well, how is the data grouped? So I'm going to add something else to the aesthetic. I'm going to do comma group equals country, Let me make sure I'm typing that in right. Country, yes. So now when I run it, oh yeah, I want to get rid of the size thing now, because that's going to make the lines different sizes. Okay, now we're getting each individual country's trajectory. And I should actually get rid of the geom smooth as well, because that's going to fit over it. Okay, one more time. This is what I'm after. We're getting the individual lines for each country within each continent. So we can see how these things are connected. And we can see, oh, this country is dipping down here, and this country is staying above the rest, and so forth, and that sort of variation. You know, for example, I can make a guess, so maybe this decline, maybe that's the Vietnam War. Who knows what these things are? But we can, when we visualize our data like this, we can get into some of those hypotheses. And this looks pretty cool. Like notice with only, what is this, 7, 8 lines of code, we can get a publication quality graph that's showing life expectancy from 1952 to 2007 for every country across 5 continents, and just how easy that is to do with ggplot. So hopefully this is I know I've gone through a lot of stuff, but I just wanted to show some of the big picture features of what's possible.